Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Zamfira from Zamfira Games, and this is another episode of the Wet Sox Zoo where everything has soggy feet. Today I'm going to show you how to build this habitat and also the backstage area or the shelter for the Nile Lechwe and the wild water buffalo. This habitat is a really like swampy and overgrown kind of habitat. So let's get started. So with this habitat, I actually started building the backstage area and the shelter first before I do the habitat. Normally I do it the other way around, but this time I did it this way to be sure where exactly the shelter is going. As you see, half of the backstage area is already finished. This is because the Red River Hawks and the Nile Lechwes and wild water buffalo kind of share the same shelter. Well, not the same shelter, but the staff can access both of the habitats from one building. And since I built the habitat and backstage area for the Red River Hawks in the last episode, um, this is basically the reason why half of the building was already finished, and also why I started with the shelter first. So I had the whole building finished. I knew exactly to what point it was going because I wasn't quite sure how big I was going to do it. And before I start to do the outside area with like foliage and stuff, I just wanted to have the shelter fixed and know exactly where it should go. I wanted to do similar to the Red River Hawks. This inside area was also like a separated little segment or box, in case like one animal would be sick or a female was giving birth, so that the staff could separate that animal from the other ones in his habitat. And yeah, that's basically why I did like one big um, box and then a smaller one on the side. And I wanted to make the like a sliding door on this rail for the shelter so that the staff could like just push the door to the side and enter the inside shelter and the sleeping area for the Nile Lechwes and wild water buffalo. And yeah, I wanted to create kind of a closing mechanism. I wasn't too sure how exactly I should do it, so I was struggling and I just came up with something creative. I couldn't find something that quick, like a reference picture for like a closing mechanism for that kind of door. So please tell me if I'm wrong. Well, I know I am much likely wrong, but please tell me how I could do it, or if you have like any good reference pictures or other creators building something like that, that would be really helpful for me. And here I again did the enclosure or habitat door on the side so that the staff would like go from the outside into the habitat and not from the sleeping area of the animals. And since here I had like the rough, well, outline of the shelter finished, I then started to do the, well, the terrain. Is that how you pronounce it correctly? And as I said at the beginning, this is really like a swampy area, or like basically the whole Wet Sox Zoo is like a swamp zoo. And then I just started to manipulate the lake that I already had and like made it the correct shape that I wanted, so that the animals had like a lot of water area in their habitat that would be like super shallow. They can like easily walk there. There's not really a swimming area because in the Zoopedia it doesn't say that they need like deep water where they can swim. So I just did like a really shallow lake where they can just walk and cool off the feet. And yeah, since the slogan of the zoo is where everything has soggy feet, they would always have like soggy feet or hooves in this case. And I already had like a really good vision. I had like really nice reference pictures from Pinterest. Um, and they had these trees. I think they are called bald cypress. Tell me if I'm wrong. And then I saw a picture where it's also a very like similar shallow water area that was like really big, and with this little greenish water because there was probably a lot of algae and duckweed and I don't know what else for plants. And then they had these bald cypresses, which we also have in the Planet Zoo. And they had these weird roots that are just sticking out to the top. And I had like the reference picture and was like, yeah, this is definitely something I want to do in my zoo. And I thought it was really fitting for the Nile Lechwe, or at least in my head. I am not quite sure if this is like the exact real kind of habitat they would live in the wild. But I mean, this is a game, and we're just taking a creative like step towards it, and just want to create like super beautiful enclosures. And since this whole zoo has like somewhat the same theme, I was like, yeah, this is gonna fit. And so I recreated this look of the reference picture I had with like kind of a thick forest of these bald cypresses with the roots sticking out around them, and then a lot of this greenery. I'm not sure if this is like really duckweed what we have in Planet Zoo, but I feel like you can kind of recreate the look of it with these green patches that I use, especially if you lower them just slightly under the water surface. So basically just the tips of the plants stick out from the top and the rest is just basically underneath the water surface, but you can pretty much see them still very good. And that's the way I recreated it. This is really something I do quite a lot when I'm going for like a swampy overgrown look. I also use these green patches already in the flamingo and red-crowned crane habitat. And then I just duplicated some of the trees and put them on the other side, outside of the habitat, to create the feeling of this dense, like forest kind of vibe. I'm still gonna add some more and some other plants on the other side, and maybe like a little hut that's like, I don't know, like a little witch hut in the swamp. Maybe I'm gonna hide some star facilities in there, but that's something I'm gonna do some other time. Maybe I'm gonna do another habitat, but it's not really likely that I'm gonna do that. Possibly like star facilities or just some decorations, and then there's gonna be the border of the zoo. So I need to think of something to make it look really nice when you're like on the bridge, but not like overdoing it and needing to build like a whole forest. I'm gonna figure that out at some point by building that zoo, probably also off camera. But if you are interested in seeing stuff like that, also doing like little gap fillers in the zoo, or like decorating spaces in between habitats or in between different paths, just tell me in the comments, because I was doing it some time ago off camera, like especially in the entrance area and between the first 3 habitats, because I redo pathing quite a lot of times while building habitats. So I just like to set down multiple habitats before I really decorate in between them, because of course if I decorate and then redo the pathing, I would need to delete the whole decoration and like redo it. So I'm just saving myself some time and just do it once the pathing is like 100% fixed and everything is the way I want it to look, and then I go back and add like plants and plant beds and maybe a fountain or some smaller facilities, maybe like a little coffee shop on the go where you can just grab yourself coffee while you're um, like exploring the zoo basically, or maybe like a toilet house. I don't know. We will see that. But please tell me if you want to see how I do these too. So I might do a video on that, or how to fill in different gaps and come up with different kind of ideas what you can um, do to fill in empty gaps that you might not know what to do with them. And yeah, while I talked, I did some more foliage on the let's say dry part of the habitat. I just started adding some rocks and the plants, of course. With this habitat, I really went like back and forth of different parts. And yeah, I again came back to the shelter and built these sliding doors, similar to the ones I did um, for the Red River Hawks, but bigger, of course, because the animals that live in this habitat are definitely bigger, especially the wild water buffalo. And I wanted to create like almost like a barn feeling for the doors. So I just created these custom doors with these rails on top where the staff can like slide them open and closed. Um, from the outside, and also can like fix them or like really like close them up so that the animals wouldn't come outside with these little chains. Um, yeah, and that's basically what I did for the sliding doors. Adding some like little details like these. Well, these are not really nails, but I want to make it look like they will like really put together. I don't know. I hope you understand what I mean. Um, yeah, and then I just duplicated it later and put it also on the other side. And yeah, if you want to see maybe like a tutorial of how to build these barn doors, just let me know with everything, basically everything. When you are like, oh, I would love to see that as like a little tutorial in like a slow build and guided tutorial, just tell me in the comments. I'm always thankful for tips like that because I really want to make more tutorials and slow builds and building tips, but I'm always like unsure what exactly to do in these builds. I already did like my aviary in case you haven't seen that already. And my first idea was to do these speed builds and progresses on the Wet Sox Zoo and maybe even other zoos once I start something else on Mondays, and then like tutorials and building tips and tricks on Thursdays. But after the aviary, I wanted to come up with something else, and I just couldn't like think of something that would be really interesting and hasn't been already done by other YouTubers like 100 times already. So yeah, then I just didn't do it like that, and I'm just uploading videos depending on what I just filmed, and not like a fixed schedule. Well, I'm still uploading on Monday and Thursday, but well, if I have just progress on my zoos, I'm just gonna do that, and if I'm gonna have some tutorials, I'm just gonna throw them in between the progress videos. Yeah, and here you can already see I put the animals in. As you might have noticed, I did not put the wild water buffalo in. This is the African buffalo, but later I decided to remove them again and replace them with the wild water buffalo, so don't be confused. I just later changed my mind on what animals to use. And since the African buffalo and the wild water buffalo look um, very similar, I thought maybe I'm not gonna add the African buffalo to the zoo, but we'll see later. I still have a couple of animals on my little list on my checkbook, what to build in the zoo. So I'm not too sure if I'm gonna add the African buffalo later or if I'm just gonna leave it out completely. And for this little mud bath, I wanted to do this like little water spring. I don't know what exactly it would be called. Um, so yeah, that there would be like this little thingy where the water would come out. I don't know. Sometimes I really struggle with coming up with some words. I hope you can see past that. I mean, I'm not a native English speaker, and I always record the voiceovers like without a script or something like that. So I'm just talking on the go and just try to come up with something and fill the time where I show you the speed build. So yeah, please bear with me if sometimes I'm not coming up with the wrong words. Yeah, and then it the last steps were basically just the finishing touches here. I just realized that I had still like a lot of open space, and to give it some dimension, I just added some of these pebbles, recolored them a little more because they were a little too light for my liking. And then I used this little yellowish grass and lowered it into the ground so that only like the tips would come out. This is really something I can recommend, just some pebbles and this grass to really give this open area some dimension, because they can really look a little boring sometimes, but you still need open spaces, of course, especially with bigger animals, so that they can like move around and be free in the movement in the habitat. So they can completely walk over those. So that's a really nice tip from my side for you. And yeah, I'm just doing the last touches. Nothing else to say for me. Just putting down the fence. These are like custom fences I did for the Red River Hawks. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Please let me know in the comments how you think this habitat came out. Personally, I'm really happy with it. I really like it, but please let me know what you think. And I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, bye guys!